All right, let's jump right in, shall we? Today, we're diving deep into the world of modern sales, specifically the art of closing.
Sounds fascinating.
We're going to explore The Lost Art of Closing by Anthony Iannarino. It's an insightful look at how to gain commitment from clients.
A topic that I'm sure resonates with many of our listeners out there.
Absolutely. So, is the classic always be closing mantra really outdated advice? And how can we, secure those commitments without seeming pushy or manipulative? We can tackle all of that.
Can't wait to unpack those questions. The psychology behind how buyers make decisions, it's a topic I'm really passionate about.
Me too. The book starts with a powerful concept, this shift, he calls it, from caveat emptor to caveat vendor. Can you break that down for us? What does it mean for, like, salespeople today?
Sure. Traditionally, caveat emptor, which means buyer beware, was kind of the norm, right? The seller held all the cards.
So the buyer had to be super cautious.
Exactly. But things have changed. Big time. Think about the internet, social media. Buyers have instant access to tons of information.
Reviews, comparisons, the whole 9 yards.
It's a totally different ballgame. The power has shifted.
To the buyer.
100%. So now it's caveat vendor. Seller beware, right? Salespeople can't just rely on those slick pitches anymore.
So what's the key now then?
Building trust, being transparent, showing genuine value up front.
Okay, I see. And that leads us to, one of the core ideas in the book, those 10 commitments that salespeople should try to gain.
Right, those commitments.
He keeps saying it's not about manipulating the client, though. It's more about, like, guiding them on a journey.
I love that analogy, a journey of positive change.
So one of the commitments that stood out to me, just starting off, was this commitment for time. What makes that so important, especially now?
Well, think about it. Instead of launching into your pitch right away, you first offer something valuable, like some insights, some data, something they can actually use.
Even if they don't ultimately choose your product or service.
Exactly. You're demonstrating your expertise.
Yeah.
Building credibility.
So it's like almost like giving them a little taste of what you know.
A sneak peek.
And you're also respecting their time, showing that you value it.
It's a shift, isn't it? Moving from a pitch to more of a conversation. An exchange of knowledge.
That makes a lot of sense. It feels less, well, salesy, right?
Way less. And that builds trust, which, as we talked about, is everything in this caveat vendor world.
For sure. Now, another commitment that I found super interesting was the commitment to explore. This one kind of challenges a big assumption that we often make, don't we?
The assumption that every client is just like desperate for change, ready to switch providers at the drop of a hat.
Yeah, like they're actively looking for a solution.
Not necessarily. They might be experiencing some dissonance, some friction, but they may not be at that point of taking action yet.
It's like what's a good analogy? Like a toothache that they've just gotten used to.
Perfect. They know it's there, but it's not like an emergency.
And so what's the salesperson's role there?
It's about helping them unpack that dissonance, making it real, exploring the potential consequences of not addressing it.
Iannarino uses the example of a friend who works with medical providers, right?
Yes. He helps them understand those hidden costs in their insurance contracts. He doesn't assume they're unhappy, just shows them something they might have missed.
It sparks their curiosity, makes them think, maybe there's a better way.
Exactly. It's about guiding them to explore possibilities.
Okay, let's tackle a commitment that I think makes a lot of salespeople nervous, the commitment to invest.
Ah, yes. The price conversation.
Which Iannarino says you should have early on, which honestly feels kind of counterintuitive. Like, why wouldn't you wait till later in the process?
Because that old dance around price can backfire. You create sticker shock, surprises, and ultimately, you erode trust.
Makes sense. So being upfront from the start
helps you filter out the clients who are just focused on the cheapest option.
and attracts those who are looking for value.
You got it. It's all about being on the same page from the get-go.
He has that example, right, of the company that chose the more expensive preventative maintenance solution.
To avoid those huge costs of downtime later on, sometimes spending more up front saves you a fortune in the long run.
Absolutely. Okay, so these first few commitments that we've discussed,
Yeah.
they really lay the foundation for a more, thoughtful approach to selling.
I agree. It's about building a relationship, not just closing a deal. It's definitely a more human-centered approach, isn't it?
It is, and it
And-
makes the whole process less, adversarial.
Totally. So speaking of shifts in the sales landscape, there's another big one that Iannarino talks about, right? This whole idea of consensus-based buying.
Oh, yeah. He makes the point that it's rarely just one person making the decision anymore.
Exactly. It's not about finding that one decision maker like it used to be.
So no more lone wolf salespeople.
Well, it takes a different approach for sure. Now you're dealing with buying committees, cross-functional teams, a whole bunch of stakeholders.
Wow. That sounds complicated.
It can be. You've got to understand the dynamics of the organization, tailor your message to resonate with all these different people.
They're all going to have their own priorities and concerns.
Absolutely. You need to build rapport with each individual, but also show how your solution benefits the entire organization.
I remember that story he tells about giving a presentation where no single person could actually say yes to the deal.
But a whole bunch of them could say no.
Yikes. High stakes.
Definitely. So to navigate this, to actually gain that commitment to build consensus, what are some strategies that work?
That's a good question. What does Iannarino recommend?
Well, first off, transparency is key. Be upfront with your main contact about needing to get other stakeholders involved.
So don't try to, sneak it past them.
Right. Explain why it's important for everybody to be on board, for a
Yeah.
smooth implementation, to maximize the benefits, all of that.
Makes sense. And it makes them feel like they're part of the process from the start.
Exactly. And it can help prevent roadblocks later on, resistance from people who feel left out.
He talks about how clients can get nervous about this, though, right?
Oh, yeah, they might worry about losing control, about pushback from colleagues, or just that the whole thing will get messy.
So how do you handle that?
Address it head on. Acknowledge their concerns, reassure them that you'll be there every step of the way.
Make it clear that you're all in this together.
Exactly. You're a partner, not just some salesperson trying to force something on them.
Okay, I like that. Speaking of being a partner, let's talk about the commitment to review. This one's kind of about what happens after you've put in all that work and presented your proposal.
This is where a lot of salespeople drop the ball, right?
They just disappear.
Vanish. Send the proposal and then crickets. But that's a huge mistake. You've got to stay engaged throughout the whole decision-making process.
So be there to answer questions, address concerns.
Make sure the client feels supported, informed, and confident in their evaluation.
He tells that story about Ross Perot, right? Who used to just constantly refine his proposals based on feedback.
To the point where by the time the decision was made, it was a guaranteed yes.
He made sure everything was perfectly aligned with what the client wanted.
It's a great example of how powerful it can be to truly listen and be adaptable. The proposal isn't some static document. It's part of an ongoing conversation.
So even after you've, officially presented it,
Yeah.
the work's not done.
Nope. The relationship continues. And that's not just with the client, by the way.
What do you mean?
Well, Iannarino points out that salespeople also need to manage commitments internally with their own teams, their own organization.
Oh, right, to make sure everybody's on the same page.
Exactly, because a successful implementation depends on alignment and collaboration, not just with the client, but internally as well.
It's like that same principle of other orientation that we talked about before.
It applies everywhere. Salespeople need to make sure their teams understand their roles, that they're committed to delivering a seamless experience. It's all connected.
It's about making sure everyone's working together towards a common goal, which ultimately is the client's success.
Right. Okay, so as we wrap our deep dive into the lost art of closing, what are some of the biggest takeaways? What do we really want our listeners to remember?
Well, for me, it's that the internet has really changed everything. Like you said before, it's seller beware now.
For sure, buyers have so much power. So salespeople have to be even more focused on building those genuine connections, being truly transparent.
And not just, trying to force a sale. It's about understanding the client's real needs, their concerns, like even digging deeper than just those surface level objections.
Absolutely. It's about problem solving, not product pushing.
Exactly. And then, of course, there's the whole thing about consensus-based buying, which honestly feels like a whole different ballgame compared to how selling used to be.
It is a different ballgame, but it's the reality now, so we have to adapt.
Learn how to navigate those complex dynamics, work with multiple stakeholders, make sure everyone feels heard.
And don't forget about staying engaged throughout the entire process, even after you've submitted the proposal. That's crucial.
Right. Be there to answer questions, provide support, make sure the implementation goes smoothly. It's about being a true partner, not just a vendor.
Couldn't have said it better myself. So to kind of bring it all together, what's the essence of Iannarino's message?
I think it's at closing in the modern world, it's not about pressure tactics or manipulation.
It's about a journey, a collaboration, working together to find the best solution.
And making sure that in the end, everyone feels good about the decision.
Couldn't agree more. Okay, so for those who want a little refresher, a quick recap of the key points, let's do our 10-point summary, shall we?
Sounds good. Ready?
Hit me with it.
All right. Number one, it's a seller beware world. Transparency and authenticity are everything.
Number 2, those 10 commitments. Guide your clients through them, build trust at every step.
Number 3, offer something valuable up front. Show your expertise, don't just pitch right away.
Number 4, help them uncover that hidden dissonance, make them aware of what they might be missing.
Number 5, talk about the investment early on. No more hiding the price till the last minute.
Number 6, emphasize the long-term value. Sometimes spending more upfront saves you money down the road.
Number 7, consensus-based buying is here to stay. Learn how to navigate it.
Number 8, dig deeper than those surface objections. Figure out the root of the client's concerns.
Number 9, stay engaged throughout the entire process. Be a true partner.
And number 10, these principles, they don't just apply to sales. Use them in every part of your life. Building relationships, influencing decisions, making things happen.
Love that. Well, there you have it, our deep dive into the lost art of closing.
Some powerful insights for anyone who wants to succeed in today's complex world of sales.
Absolutely. And for our listeners out there, until next time, keep diving deep, keep learning, and keep mastering the art of making those genuine connections that really make a difference.